Emergence of regional powers. The rise of Bengal, Awadh, and Hyderabad. Emergence of regional powers. The rise of Bengal, Awadh, and Hyderabad. Successor states. By 1761, the Mughal Empire was an empire only in name, as its weakness and enables the local owners of the assert their independence. Yet the symbolic authority of the Mughal Empire continued. The new states did not challenge its rule or authority and constantly sought its sanction to legitimize their rule. The emergence of these states in 18th century presented a transformation rather than collapse of polity. It signified a it signified a decentralization of power and not a power vacuum or political chaos. Bengal, Awadh, and Hyderabad. Bengal, Awadh, and Hyderabad were three successor states of the Mughal Empire in the sense that they were founded by the provincial Mughal governors who never formally served as their links with the center but virtually exercise autonomy in matters of execution at local level. First, Bengal, success state 3, Bengal, Awadh, and Hyderabad. First, Bengal. The province of Bengal gradually become independent of Mughal control after Murshid Quli Khan became the governor of in 1717. The efficient revenue administration. The foundation of the Murshid Quli power was his successful revenue administration, which even days of the political chaos made Bengal a revenue surplus area. Quli made the revenue collection system efficient. He encouraged the development of a few powerful jamidars at the expense of the smaller jamidars. By the time of the Quli's death in 1727, 15 largest jamidars were responsible for the half of the revenue of the province. Second, the growing importance of merchants and bankers. The constant pressure on the jamidars to pay revenue on time brought powerful bankers into great demand. They provided securities at the every stage of the transaction and enjoyed unprecedented patronage of governor, thus providing him the main supportive pillar of his power. The most significant of the whom was Jagatpal's Seth Jagatpal, and third is Bengal as the role of trade. Bengal always had a liquidity trade and the political stability. Liquidity trade and political stability. Increase in agricultural productivity during the Coolie regime provided further impetus to such trading activities. During the political turmoil in 18th century, traffic through the overland route partially declined, but the oceanic trade thrived with the increasing investment from the European companies, Dutch, French, and English. Bengal always enjoyed a favorable trade of balance of trade with surplus bullions brought in the European companies to buy Bengali goods. On the Indian side, his trade was dominated by the merchant, and they enjoyed a cordial relation with the state and bureaucracy. Then Murshid Quli Khan, 1770 1727, was succeeded by the grandson Sarfraz Khan. However, the Sujauddin Khan, Quli's son-in-law, outlisted Sarfraz Khan. Khan was supported by the local zamindars, merchant, and bankers. Next is 1739 to 40. The increasing influence of the bankers and traders become visible when, in a coup in 1739, Sarfraz Khan, the newly appointed Nazim, was ousted by his army commander Ali Khan with the help of banking family Jagatpal Seth and few powerful zamindars. Next is Ali Khan. It was his reign that marked a virtual break with the Mughal. All the appointments were now made without any reference to the emperor, and finally, the regular flow of the revenue to Delhi was stopped. Ali Khan and the Maratha threat. Maratha threat posed by continuous expansion reached Bengal, Bihar, and Odisha. In 1751, under the Ali Khan, they rejected the agreement with the Maratha, agreeing to pay chauth, one-fourth of the tax collection for the Bengal, and handing over Odisha to Marathas. Ali Khan died in 1756. Bitter succession was between his successors and the Sirajud-Dowla and the Ghaseti Begum, Ali daughter, Shaukat Jung. This resulted in intense court factionism as the mighty jamidars and the merchants felt threatened by the young Nawab. This intense court factionism detached, despite destabilized the administration of Bengal, and advantage was taken by the British East India Company, which acquired a foothold in the Bengal politics through the Plassey conspiracy that ended the rule of the Sirajuddaula. Battle of Plassey, 1757. 1690, Aurangzeb granted British rights for duty-free trade in Bengal for 3,000 rupees. That is 1690. Then in 1717, Farrukh Shah granted the company the right to carry on duty-free trade to rent 38 villages around Calcutta, use the royal mint. However, Murshid Quli refused to rent 38 villages and grant minting rights. 1750s, British were apprehensive of French presence victories and in South India, English private trade suffered heavily in 1750s as a revolt in French competition in collection with Asian merchandise. 1755, English began reopening their fortifications in Calcutta without the Nawab's permission, and in Uttar defiance of his authority began to offer protection to fugitive from his court. Then in 1756, Sirajud-Dowla became Nawab, took over the British factory in the Qasim Bazaar. This was followed by the Siraj attack on the Calcutta and its capture on 20th June 1756. This precipitated a crisis. Robert Clive now arrived with a strong army from Madras. A dissatisfied faction within Nawab Siraj court consisting of merchant bankers. Powerful bankers like Jagat Seth sided with the British. 1757 Battle of Plassey, Siraj-ud-Dowlah defeated by Clive. The war was only a um, skirmish. skirmish. The war was only a skirmish, as the military commander of Siraj, Mir Jafar, effected a coup d8 with the support of the Jagat Seth brothers. Consequences of the Battle of Plassey. First, the Plassey battle paved way for British rule in Bengal and India. The war boosted British prestige in a single stroke, raised them to status of major contender for the Indian Empire. Third, revenue from the Bengal ended the enabled the British to build a strong army. Fourth, Plassey plunder. 2,75,000 pound immediate war indemnity was to be paid to the British. In this, two things: A, between 1757 to 1760, the company received 22.5 million rupees from the Mir Jafar. Prior to Plassey, trade with the Bengal was financed from the bullions imported from Europe. After Plassey, bullions was exported from Bengal to China and other parts of the India for trade purposes. Battle of Buxar 1764 and Treaty of Allahabad 1765. 1763, Shah Alam II Mughal Emperor Shujauddaulah Awadh Mir Qasim planned to form a grand alliance to fight against British. 1764 Battle of Buxar. An 18th century Indian army with its segmentary social organization was in serious disadvantage against the technically efficient English army with a unified command. 1765 Treaty of Awadh. Shah Alam II was treated with respect after the defeat of nominal rule of the Mughal continued. In 17 in return, the British were granted Diwani rights, revenue collecting rights for Bengal, Bihar and Odisha. In return, British Treaty of the Allahabad 1765. In return, British were granted Diwani rights, revenue collecting rights for Bengal, Bihar and Odisha. British residents were posted at Murshidabad, who became the real focus of the power in Bengal province by 1772. In Awadh, Siraj-ud-Dowlah paid 5 million rupee to the company. Awadh mein a British resident was posted in his court. The company was granted duty-free trading rights in Awadh. Chapter summary: Causes of Plassey. Asserted to Nawab who threatened privilege of the East India Company. Anglo-French rivalry. Deficiency of the Nawab authority. Defection of the merchant bankers who felt threatened by the young Nawab. Significance of the Battle of Plassey and Buxar. Raised British prestige. Plassey plunder boost to the finance of the East India Company. Enabled them to build a strong army. Treaty of the Allahabad granted them revenue collecting rights. This is the end of the chapter.